My wife and I had joined a church plant in Raleigh. As time passed, we started to see changes. As the election cycle began leading up, there were many, comments around us where people were very clearly opposed to what we believed, and were not afraid to state it very vocally. My wife and I were very open about being conservatives. We certainly didn't push for any political agendas or candidates, but it was known to everyone. I don't know that I ever heard a real direct statement about socialism, but certainly the idea of a welfare state and redistribution was talked about, that was a good thing, and that the government role in terms of helping people financially was something that, instead of being the family and the church, was the government should take a central role, should be a particularly prominent role. The documentation status of various people, that was definitely brought up. We did have seminary professors that were guest preachers that would do a sermon. I believe that there was some influence due to one of my fellow congregants that was I guess completing an MDiv at Southeastern, who had a particular professor. He shared with me some of his papers that had been graded, and it was difficult not to read that paper and the marks and the comments and not feel that social justice was being defined as a positive thing that the church needed to push and advocate for. We were community group leaders, I think one of 4 community group leaders, and held the meetings in our home. One of the church elders and his wife met with me and my wife in our home. I mentioned to him that as a result of our small group meetings, that I didn't think that he really was a complementarian because of the way that he had described how he runs his household with his wife and daughters. He was very angry, and I think in that moment he turned to me and said, you are in generational sin because your ancestors owned the ancestors of another congregant who had the same last name as me and my wife. This couple was one of the couples that we were very close to, that we shared meals with many times. My daughter had gone over and been like a mother's helper in their home. There was absolutely no indication that there was any ill will whatsoever between us, and this pastor seemed to be, he seemed to be the one that had the ill will, and I really was shocked. I was almost speechless, to be honest. I didn't have, this was, as the conversation was drawing to a close, it was almost like a parting shot as he was leaving. I did not have a good response. I think my mind went to, what if it is possibly true that there was some connection in the past? But I did not at all feel that I was in sin. I did not believe that at all. That this accusation that I was somehow in sin that wasn't covered by Christ's atonement. I do believe that this was an event that really made me feel that I was not welcome in this congregation. This particular pastor was one of 2, and he was very influential and worked at the seminary. I do think that after this event or this exchange occurred, we could tell, being in the church services, that the other people in the congregations, many of them seemed to have taken a different attitude towards us and were very standoffish at that point. We were devastated. It was very difficult because I would often come home from church and sit down with my wife and kids and try to deconstruct some things that had been said or some things that had happened that I felt like were, above and beyond the pure gospel message, and trying to kind of deconstruct it. I would definitely feel that because of my ethnicity, that if there was something going on in the news media, that there was a blanket treatment, that I was somehow associated with people that were not even believers living in another state. Some incident occurred, but yet it was brought up in a manner that made you feel that you need to search your heart, you need to search your mind and find sin that seemed to be assumed to be there. And so over time, it was difficult to stay in the congregation because of the need to listen to the sermon and then try to sit down with my family and show where I disagreed and try to keep that from influencing them. I do think that because this person was an employee of SEBTS, and I do believe that he was influenced in some ways by teaching or maybe the spirit of what was going on there that influenced his decision to bring these matters up.